Welcome back to the Nomad CEO. Here I'm with Mario Lanzarotti. I'm very honored to have him on the show. He's an entrepreneur and founder from Germany and half Italian, half German, I think. Also globetrotter, nomad style entrepreneur. And well, I invited him to the show because he has an inspiring story to share. Remember, guys, this is about transformation. The idea of this podcast is to encourage young men to take some risks, to get inspired by the difficult moments of other people, how they overcame it. And so here we are today with Mario. Welcome to the show. I'm always asking the same question at the beginning. What was your pivotal moment? What was your transformational moment? Can be more than one, of course, but let's dive into the juicy stuff right away.
Thank you, Roman. Good to be here with you. My pivotal moment, the first one was when I was on my way to becoming a pilot in Germany for Lufthansa. And I chose that career because I watched the movie Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio and was inspired by the kind of lifestyle that he was living, traveling around the world, lots of money, lots of women, lots of approval and status. And then I decided to follow the same path. And I quickly realized as I was in the path that I was really unhappy, really depressed, and realized that I had chosen it because I wanted to prove something to the world. And in proving something to the world, I really ended up losing myself. And so I ended up in a period where I had 1.5 years of chronic back pain, a sense of depression, on and off depression, and it got so bad that I thought about committing suicide. And that happened while I was in the training program because of that immense pressure that I, first of all, faced from becoming a pilot, but then also internally because I was like, I didn't want to be there anymore. But I told myself that I had to be there because I invested so much time. And yeah, that was the biggest rock bottom of my life so far. And then I saw Tony Robbins on YouTube because, as a man, when you're struggling, the first thought that I had was, I just need to work harder. Like I'm not working hard enough. And obviously that wasn't true, but that was my mindset at the time. And then I found Tony Robbins and I learned that what you experience is a result of what you focus on and the meaning you give to the kind of experience that you're having. And that was the pivotal path for me to begin to change my life dramatically.
Okay. I think this rings a bell for a lot of people because first of all, Tony Robbins is a extraordinary human being. And I've seen a few videos. I mean, I've read his books. I've seen, that he has these events where he actually sort of reads a person in the room where another thousands of people surround that person and like sort of mind reading superpowers he's got, right? So with people. And so there's something about him that is just, I think is just amazing. And what you went through in terms of lack of meaning or lack of fulfillment sounds like it's something that you experience because you told yourself that this is the path I had chosen, so I have to keep going, right? Something like that. It sounds like you needed the wake up call to find something more meaningful. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because like you said, the path that I thought would give me meaning didn't end up giving me meaning because, I was looking for meaning in the wrong things. I was looking for meaning in money, and in status. And I had the path secured for that, but I realized that it was really, really empty. And so I had this wake up moment in understanding that meaning isn't something that you find in the things outside of yourself, but meaning is something that you create within yourself. Like you are actually the source of that meaning. And obviously Tony Robbins was a great guide in that whole process. But then that later on led me to, to seek personal development, first of all. which is, I ended up consuming every book known to man. And then I realized that personal development is also falling short of true meaning. It's important, like it helps you to find meaning and to improve as a person, but ultimately you'll never find it there. And that's when I went on to exploring more of the spiritual paths in life.
Yeah, this is a difficult discussion. Difficult because, first of all, I think, of course, personal development is crucial, and we, as guys, as men, we know this because that's how we're brought up. Like, be better, do better, right? I think as men, we are told just do better, right? It's always that work on yourself, take it like man up, and don't complain, and just work harder. And for a lot of situations, that might actually be true, but if there is an underlying psychological problem, then it might actually be the wrong answer. I just read something interesting that I had never heard before about Carl Jung, one of his teachings, and there is something called the rule of contradictions, which is that you for every good advice you find the opposite advice out there, which is also valid. So you could come up with, if you could say now, for example, you could say that if X or Y happens, then you should do that, right? So for example, if you I don't know, if you're hit and you fail, or your enemy crushes you, then it's like you should do this. You should respond in kind, or you should walk away and be peaceful. There's for every situation in term. There's this opposite advice, and there's a contradictory advice out there. You'll find proof for both situations, which is kind of mind-boggling to me, because really what it means, it comes down to there's just no one, there's not just one way how to do things. It actually depends on a lot more things, and on you and the observer. And so it's complicated, right? But it's confusing. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah.
But maybe we can agree on that. Yes, personal development is, as a rule of thumb, is where it comes down to, right? Because I'm always asking these questions, and I always get different. It's similar. I start to see a pattern, right? So just 2 days ago, I had a guy on my show, former NFL star, who became addict after he had to finish his to end his career as NFL star, and then he overcame that. Then he became a construction company entrepreneur, super successful in Baltimore, biggest company in that city. Then he went bankrupt, lost everything, and then he became a coach and motivational speaker. And so when he explained to me, because I asked him, what did you do specifically to overcome this situation, like in a specific day? What was your mindset? I want to know, not the general stuff. I give me the exact things you did. And he said, like, I sat down and I reflected upon that 10 minutes, and then I realized that I'm just here to help people, and then I did what. And so like, where I'm trying to get here is that speed to implementation is crucial. Like, what differentiates the winners from the losers often is just they just take action. Shit happens, they turn around, and then they go again. No, not dwelling on too long on things. This is a big one as well, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's more to it though than winning and losing. I think when we're playing the game of entrepreneurship, obviously we want to win in terms of we want to achieve what we're looking for. But if that's the only focus, it becomes a very empty kind of game, because all you're thinking about is, okay, now I'm winning, now I'm losing, now I'm winning, now I'm losing. And life is much more than winning and losing. I think life is in the nuances, right? It's to learn to find meaning in the losing. It's to find meaning in the winning and in between. And that to me is where the spiritual path comes in, where you live moment to moment from a place of being fully alive. And you could ask, okay, what does it mean to be fully alive? And in my experience, being fully alive is to embrace each moment as it comes, and not even as like a positive thing, but For instance, when a lot of my clients, they're like, I got like people pleaser clients. So they're in a sales call, and then they want to charge X, and then they say, "Oh, but then I felt anxious because the guy pushed back. He said, "Oh, that's expensive." And then all of a sudden I felt super anxious, and then I lowered my price. And then I said, "Okay, what if you just feel anxious and still charge the price that you want to charge?" Right? So there's like, you can feel the feeling, you can experience the moment, and you can still choose what you're choosing. Those are not
Yeah.
the thing. They don't correlate. But in popular society, in sort of the mainstream kind of idea, is I feel a way, and the feeling then justifies the action. But this is to me more you're living according to your own principles. Like you're choosing to do something because this is what you believe in, versus I feel something, now I go away from that principle. Now I do something to appease that feeling. And if you can embrace each emotion moment to moment to moment and still stick to the path that you chose, whether the path is right or wrong doesn't matter. You don't know that. This is the path that I choose, and then you walk that path, and then you reflect back, and you like, did this path work out in the way for me that I thought it would? Am I happy with it? Is it giving me what I'm looking for in life or not? And then you choose a different path.
Yes, I guess that's true. It just requires a tremendous amount of awareness. This is this is you can only build such because it requires you to train yourself to be less reactive, and that requires to be because when you say embrace your emotions, what you're actually saying is that you're now aware that you have a certain emotion, but you're not treating it as if it was you. You just sort of from a distance observe it, let it go, and then still end up taking a decision based on what you previously had to say. But that's something that normal people actually never experience because it requires actually you have to do a shitload of meditation to get to this point. It's really just a habit of spiritual aware. I get this is just a spiritual awareness, or maybe I'm wrong, but I would argue that at least to me it has been super difficult to get to the point in many situations where I, I'm still reactive sometimes.
Yeah, 100%. And I wouldn't say this is like a either or kind of thing, black or white. Like you're either never reactive, or you're reactive all the time. This is not this enlightened state that
Yeah,
so
it's
people talk
no,
about,
it's a
right? It's like
spectrum.
it's you just like when you go to the gym and you practice your physical muscles. This is about stretching your awareness muscles. You get better and better and better with it over time the more you practice this. I would just say that this one skill, this non-reactivity, is the most important skill to cultivate for any entrepreneur, because the more you can stay with any chosen path, the more successful you're going to be. Just plain math, right? Because if you choose a path or a strategy, whatever you want to call it, and then the emotion hijacks it and you jump ship to another strategy, now you're all over the place. And then you just call it, oh, well, I'm just a multi-passionate person. I can't focus on one thing. It's like, so, well, I think you haven't trained your mind to the point where you can actually feel your feelings but stay a course with something that you want to build that actually becomes bigger than like a small business that you're running on the side.
Yeah, yeah, this is true. In entrepreneurship, you go into that knowing it's going to be hard, but then you realize that it's way harder than you thought it would be. And then it can also, yeah, it's up. But I mean, I disagree with one part you just said,
Hmm.
but maybe it's just a different another definition because you say strategy. Strategy can be as long as I would argue that as long as your goal is clear, you can change your strategy to get there. Doesn't really matter. And unless it's like climbing the wrong ladder. That is a problem. Choosing the mountain or something. But if the goal has not shifted, the end goal of what you're trying to build, then changing strategy can be a necessary adaptation, right? To whatever you're going through, I
Yeah,
guess.
like, of course, just to clarify what I mean by that is changing strategy is necessary, obviously.
Yeah.
But what I see is people are jumping strategies like every day. Like,
Shiny object syndrome.
exactly, right? You're like saying, okay, I'm gonna scale my business, and the way that I choose to scale it is through in-person events, and that's my lead generation method. And then you try that for a week, and then you go, "Oh, this is hard. People are not coming. Well, all right, let me try Instagram ads." Now, like, no, you are allowing this is hard to take you away from really giving it a try and consistently showing up. If you've done that for 6 months or a year and you've given it your best and you've invested in actually uncovering your blind spots and you've overcome certain fears and it's still not working out, all right, I'm with you. But if you jump it every other day, every other week, and you're not getting anywhere with it, then I think this is more a shiny object kind of thing.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so okay, what were your since we're talking about changes, what have you been on to lately? What have been your latest changes in strategy?
Yeah. So I recently retired my entire brand. My brand used to be known as Zenpreneurs, and I went through a big identity shift myself. And that identity shift came with realizing that, when you're a founder, one of the things that you experience almost on a daily basis is failure. I think it's like micro failures. Like you say, I'm going to reach out to 10 people, and then one of them is going to get back to me and get on a call with me, and then you do that, and then it doesn't happen. And sort of like you just keep going, right? Because it's part of the game. But you do this over the course of years, and you do this with bigger, medium, and bigger projects. Now you accumulate a lot of disappointment. And I realized that I had been carrying a lot of disappointment with me because of the years of trial and error that I brushed off. Even though I had been doing inner work quite consistently, there was a pocket that I didn't touch. And when I saw that and I was able to release it, the emotion of it, a whole new area of focus opened up for me. And I realized that the brand that I was doing was no longer feeling aligned because it was missing an edge for me. And the edge was masculinity. It was too soft. And so I struggled with like really going into that because it's like I built this thing up and, what if, oh, no, I don't want to. And so I let go of that. But I let go of it because I was able to let go of a lot of the emotions that I was holding on in the first place. And that creates fear, right? If you're holding on to unprocessed emotions, it just creates a lot of fear. And so I was able to clear that. And then when I cleared that, I opened up a whole new brand, which is Aligned Founders, which is focused on male entrepreneurs to help them scale by embracing more of their masculinity. And that brought me to now starting a series of events locally in person in Cape Town. One being a dinner series, one being a full day event where I bring together somatic work around breath work and meditation and business strategy to help men identify what really keeps them stuck, which is the identity that they're still operating out of. And yeah, I'm sure you have a bunch of questions before I keep rambling on.
Well, yeah, I do actually. First of all, no, we're actually competitors. So because I also focus only on male entrepreneurs. I just have a completely different approach, I guess. It doesn't really matter because first of all, there's so much to be done in that particular niche because men are struggling like big time, like really, it's all over the place. And I think we need more of these men groups and focus on male issues because they're fundamentally different. And it's right what you just said. Identity is a core issue, right? Most of them are confused and don't. I guess it's such a purpose related issue. Like I think men have, women as well. I guess women also need a purpose, right? But for women, it's easier to find purpose than for men because we're so dependent. I think we are more, let's call it, deep down hardwired. We know that we only feel valued only if we contribute in a very meaningful way, mostly or often economic, as a provider, as a protector, and then that causes a lot of problems. So the question I have is, do you think that we should embrace these traditional masculine traits and strengthen them, or do you think we should soften those and also play along with the egalitarian ideology?
Great question. So, a couple things that I wanna just bring into this part of the conversation. One thing that you said beautifully in the beginning is, you said we're competitors, and that's a very kind of male identity. And I would say we're not competitors. I would say we're co-creators, because I very much see there, like you said later, is like there is so much space for people like us. We're needed to.
Yeah, we're collab. We collab. Yeah, we're not just competitor in a sales environment, in a marketing. If you look at it from a commercial perspective, we would be in it. But
Yeah, like, but to that point, right? Like this is a, I would say this is a very, it's an old mindset. This is sort of like you that you have something from the market to take away from my market share kind of thing, and it creates this elbow mentality. Even if it's, for some men it's very strong, for other men it's more subtle. But here's the thing with that, right? I'm not to say, and this is to answer your question, is like, should we embrace these like traditional values? Yes, and like competition is a very masculine kind of thing. Do I say that we should get rid of it? No, of course not, right? But a healthy sense of competition, a sense of competition that isn't like, I'm going to win at all cost, and I just care about like dominating and destroying you kind of sense. No, like more like hey man, I want to win and I'm doing everything that I can to win, but I also want you to win. I want us to like compete in a sense of like, oh, look what this guy's doing. That's amazing, man. Like I want to do that too. And it's more like a constructive sense of competition. And to come down to the gist of what you said in terms of provide, protect, I would add there's another element to it: serve, provide, protect, and serve. And I would absolutely say that it is vital that men step into that archaic identity, because it's hardwired into our biology. And to go against it is stupid. It's just foolish. But
yeah, it's just,
obviously, there's an extreme to it, because there's this sense of like, I'm the man, I provide and protect. The woman just shut up and you go and belong into the kitchen. That's stupid, right? But the way that I see it is, the masculine provides a key element for the feminine that the feminine is lacking. If you look at modern society with this very strong focus on women empowerment, it's actually a very masculine way to empower women. It's now women are working extremely hard they're making careers, they're, the femme entrepreneurship. And I have spoken to so many of them, and they are burnt out to a crisp, because the female system is not designed to operate like the male system. You and I, we can perform like 6 days a week like this. Boom, 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 boom. We don't have the hormones like women do that create these spikes. We don't have a menstrual cycle. And that's a key difference. Women operates at different peaks, not like a man. And that requires a different structure, a different system. And I think we as men, we can support them to thrive in their optimal way.
yeah. I agree totally. It's idiotic to pretend that our biological hardwiring can be in any way, form, or shape be overridden or something. You cannot. This is like an analogy would be, you just don't fuck with nature. That's the point, right? So why would you do that? So it makes no sense. You try to, in a sense that you want to flow like water, right? You just go like a flower. It just is. We should, and we're not supposed to alter our biology, I think, fundamentally. But also, so for men, that is obvious, right? So we know this, and we're being told that we have to step up and all of that. That these expectations have never actually changed, not even in the last 20 years. Do you agree? So even in the woke, in the peak woke, 2018, 2019, when it was really the peak woke, still men were expected to all to do and to fulfill all these things, these roles. But women, what about them?
Yeah, I
They
think
were they were basically, sorry for, I'm just gonna finish that, because that they're being deceived and lied to as well, when they're being told that they should get out, have a career, and then they're 30 something, and then they turn around and then they wonder if men just not down to choosing them anymore because they go for a younger one,
yeah.
and then they become bitter feminists.
Yeah, there's truth to a lot of what you're saying, and the way that I see it as a pendulum swing. Like if we go back before the feminist movement, there was a very archaic kind of patriarchal view on society. It was very often very much like, woman, you belong into the kitchen, shut up, know your place, right? Women weren't allowed to vote in many places in the world, in some places not even drive a car. So there's truth to that for sure. And what it did, it created an uprising of like, now all power to women. And I find that that's also a natural kind of way in which life balances things out, right? And to your point is like, men have been given these extremely confusing messages. For male psychology, which is very different from female psychology, male psychology thrives in simplicity. We are very simple creatures. Unlike women, they're much more complex. But what have you been told as a man in the area of wokeness? Step up, be a man, and support women. So you are supposed to step up and do the thing that's just for women. You're also supposed to give up sort of like your pay, like because you're being paid too much, and now you're supposed to do that too. But you're still supposed to be paying, like you're still supposed to be paying for dinner. So it's like now you're supposed to do what men have always done, but now you're also not supposed to do that, because so you make space for women to step in. And it's highly confusing. And if you look at the young generation of boys, they are hyper feminized. They're struggling immensely. There's the whole conversation around gender. It's like, there's more genders than male and female. And so all of that leads to a sense of confusion. And I see that women are beginning to wake up to this massively, saying we don't want hyper feminized men. We want male men that support us. And we don't want to work in this world where we are now the providers and everything is on us, because that's not supportive to our nature, to our system. Obviously, we want to be able to make money in our own ways and have a career or a business that allows us to fulfill our own ideas and dreams, and not be 100% dependent on a man. And so, Mhm.
To then explain what should change, like men need to start to think more. They have to be more egoistic. They have to think more about what do I actually want, instead of what do women want, because they're always asking this question, how do you want that to be for in society. And it's always this question how women feel about this, but who asks actually how men feel about this?
so I hear you. And for me, as a man, as a leader, as a provider, protector, and server, I do the best I can to take both accounts into my viewpoint. I totally see
That's a
your point, right?
that's balance, and that's how it should be. But it's not being done like that. It's always like the it's all. The question is always how do we do this so women are not as much affected. It's never the other way around.
Yeah,
At
but
least not.
but that's the problem that I think is like it's an either or, and that's not the way
Yeah,
that.
it's a zero-sum game. It should be like you just brought up. It should be, we should be able to look at both sides and say, okay, this is affecting men, this is affecting women, but that's not happening.
Exactly.
That's not happening. It's only happening in these male spaces where problems and issues are identified, and then if they bring it up, then it's like now you're just a misogynist because you actually brought up a problem that only men experience, and they take it as if it was as if you wanted to diminish somehow a woman's issue that obviously also exists, but you're actually just pointing out a problem that only men face. Because if you don't bring it up, who does? Nobody. Because I have never heard any feminist group complaining about any men issues.
Well, I don't know. I don't listen to that many.
They don't exist. But let's not go down too much that road. I want to transition into your actual, because we're also, this is a founder podcast as well. Masculinity. I also enjoy mixing those two, and we should, because it creates the groundwork, like the psychological, because it's important to I'm asking this because I want to know why you're doing what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's fundamental. It's the most important question before you start a business should be why. So you said to me, okay, I shifted from Zenpreneurs to now a more masculinity influenced thing, but why? So that's where, because why is it, I do this because I want to do, I'm doing what I'm doing now because I consciously chose that. For me, it's really a problem what we just talked about. It's a problem that men have these sky high suicidal, and you've been in that place, right? So men are deleting themselves in droves, falling behind in every metric, still expected to go to war when the shit hits the fan. While these other women, I've known at least 3 Ukrainian women who have their husbands on the front line and are here partying in Canggu.
Wow.
So,
Yeah.
and that is the thing, and nobody, this is supposed to be okay, right? So, but feminism, and then there's a lot of situations that are just not, it's as if we will live in two different worlds, right? Where this is supposed to be, this is not adding to the equation. How is that not unfair? What do you mean? And nobody gives a shit, right? So they just die. And then why did you, so my question comes back to you. Why are you focusing on, why the shift in your entrepreneurial journey towards masculinity and entrepreneurship?
Yeah, great point. So I'll answer from a personal and then also from from a global perspective. First of all, personal. So I've done inner work, personal development, whatever you want to call it, for now over 10 years. And I've done meditation, coaching, psychology, therapy, psychedelics. I've done so much. And if I bring it down to the kind of work that has really helped me more than other things, it's men's work. Now, what the fuck is men's work? Every time I say men's work to people that don't know, to men that don't know what it is, they think this is some gay stuff. I don't want anything of
Or
that, right?
misogyny?
Yeah, or that, right? But for me, it's like I've learned that men thrive when they have safe masculine relationships. Like if you go back to the days of like King Arthur, right? Like you had this sense of honor and pride in who you are and in what you're doing, and you saw a sense of purpose in that. When you have that as a man, when you have this sense of belonging, like I've got my brothers with me, you become, you access a level of drive, of confidence and of risk taking that you would not be able to access on your own. And this is, again, this is an archaic design that's inside of us. This is like the warrior design. This, like, if I know that I've got men on my side that are following what I'm doing, like I'm feeling way stronger. And for me, one of the biggest problems that I faced in my life internally was a sense of loneliness. I
Yes, same here.
often felt that I didn't have people in my life that really knew me and really could relate to me. And as a male founder, you're on this hyper growth track. You outgrow your family, your friends, everyone that you know, that you once know, you outgrow them, not because you're a better person, no, but you're just on this growth trajectory. You have to be, because entrepreneurship demands it of you. But if you don't have people alongside with you, what do? You isolate. And when you isolate, you don't ask for help. You don't talk about your struggles. And if you don't ask for help and don't talk about your struggles, you only look for solutions on your own. And that's a very ineffective way to finding solutions to the problems that you're facing. And I saw that, and when I tapped into men's groups, into relationships with other men like me, my business took off. My sense of well-being took off. I felt so much more excited about the work that I was doing. And because I saw that happening in me, I was like, I got to give that to other men that I'm working with. And every time I introduce them to that type of work, they're popping. They're like, "Oh my god, this is fucking amazing. I didn't know I needed that." And so that's on a personal kind of exploration. But then on a larger scale exploration is, what do we see, especially in Western society? And let's talk about Western society for a moment. Western society is fucking collapsing. Like
Totally.
there's chaos all over the place. I look at things from an energetic place. And what I see is lacking in Western society is stability, is safety, is order. Not in the sense of like order, like there is this hyper controlling state that will lock you up if you say something that doesn't go with mainstream, right? But order as in, you can go out on the streets at night and you don't have to look over your shoulder thinking that someone is going to attack you. Order that you know that when you vote for certain politicians that make certain promises to you, that things actually happen, that a system that you
Yeah.
invest your money in actually is reliable and works, that when you have a conversation with people on the street about your political view on the left and you talk to someone on the right, you can have a conversation rather than them beating each other
Yeah.
up. That used to be possible, but it's no longer possible because what's missing in society is order, is safety, and those are masculine tendencies. These are the kind of
Well,
tendencies that men provided to society.
yeah, well, it's not a surprise when you just listen to the statements of the people that are in power right now in Germany. I mean, they just openly hate men. I mean, the leftist party, they just tell you in your face that men are the problem, that this is just their ideology. I think I'm actually ashamed of being German nowadays because I think we're the stupidest country on earth, literally right now. We could be a force in a good way, helping people thriving, and they're ruining everything. And this is why I'm not gonna go back. And actually, I'm in the process of I'm still registered in Germany, but it's gonna change next month. I don't want to give them my tax money anymore. I'm just leaving, and I think every man with some more than 2 or 3 neurons in his head should leave as well. So because they're gonna crash and burn sooner or later. This is not going to work. This lack of order, this lack of stability you're talking about is real. I totally agree. And the ship is gonna burn, sink for sure. The question is when, and when it happens, it's gonna get a lot worse before it gets better. And so I think it's more young men. They should just leave and say, you know what, fuck you, I'm out, and I'm gonna build my life where common sense is still intact. For example, in countries like, so you can say everything. I mean, for example, here in Indonesia, you don't have that shit going on here. Like you have security, you have people that are not at their throats. Like the genders, for example, they have you see normal relationship. Families are big. Birth rates are normal. They're in tune with their spirituality. They have some purpose that is greater than themselves. People are just way happier, and it's a country you can have everything here. They have a high standard of living. Go to the Philippines. It's a little bit lower there, but also like you have those are considered to be those, but they're right now maybe still the third world countries, but those are the countries that are gonna thrive in 10 years. It's not gonna be Germany. I don't think I think Germany is fucked fundamentally. You mentioned the West, but I think the U.S. It has turned around, so they're now taking control. We could say the same about Argentina. Argentina just turned around, and in less than 8 months, they turned around a bankrupted country into a thriving economy again with Javier Milei. Um, and maybe a few other countries get it before it's too late, but Germany is certainly not one of them.
Yeah, yeah,
Is my
yeah,
opinion.
yeah. And you see, the way that I see masculinity is as something sacred. Like, we have a responsibility to be the kind of men that can integrate both of these energies that we talked about, like the male, but also the female. Because if it's only male, if it's this just like energy, let's just fucking go, push, push, push. Like, I don't have any emotions, right? Like, this just doesn't exist. I'm just all rationality. If it's only that, it leads you down to a place of isolation. It leads you down to a place of burnout. And that's when you cannot operate at your best as a man. But if you also bring in some of the feminine qualities, which are about intuition, which are about developing an awareness over your emotional spectrum, which are about building intimacy in relationships, especially in male relationships. If you bring in some of those qualities, you become a truly embodied leader. And that's what the world needs, in my opinion. We don't need another swing to hypermasculinity. We need to integrate and we need to lead the middle path, because that's going to create a thriving society with strong, masculine, safe tendencies and with the feminine that creates all the color and all the beauty on the inside. And together,
Yeah,
that is what divine union looks like.
exactly. How about appreciation of the divine and the opposites and what differentiate what makes us different? That's appreciation. Is there is balance. That's what we need. And right now, the balance, I think the balance is created by people like you that focus on men, because there is a decade of femme empowerment, and there's, I mean, happy for them, and it's great that it's there, but we also need the same for men.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
So that's how we could make a difference,
I'm
I
all
guess.
for that.
Yeah. All right. And okay, cool. So you're in Germany right now, but you're actually not living there, right? You're leaving
No.
too?
No, I'm just visiting family, like we live in South Africa for the most part of the year, but we still have family here that we visit. And like to your point about Germany, I've actually enjoyed Germany far more now that I'm a tourist and I am just here for a short time and I can leave at the end of the day, because I also couldn't see myself ever living again in the way that it's unfortunately unfolding right now.
Yeah, no, that's the good stuff about Germany is really, as a nomad, or as someone who has been a migrant for 30 years, because I've lived outside Germany for such a long time. I can see that you can tell, you get to compare, you see traits and qualities by comparison. You can tell the cultures, you can spot the differences, and I mean nuances, right? So I lived in Latin America for such a long time, but even there's differences, nuances between, for example, Colombians and Mexicans and Argentina. Like Argentina is a big difference to how they behave, and so. But the German qualities are also unique. I mean, every country has its unique, and the people embody those traits. And this might be overly generalized, or even to a point of cliche, but it's actually true. So we are like considered the, always, like in Mexico, they said, like they look at us cuadrado, like we're always like this, everything is like squared, and we have these super orderly everything, and I mean on point, on time. And those are qualities that are German, right? But in society, in Germany, that made also the difference. Like, for example, Deutsche Bahn is completely lost it, right? Since when is the last time a train got arrived on time?
Been a while.
Like situations like that, where you see the decline happening, like really in real time, and it's just bad. But whatever. All right. So you wanna shout out to the audience? How can they reach out to you before we end?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the best way I would say is you can connect with me on LinkedIn or on Instagram. Just type in my name, Mario Lanzarotti. And For me, I'm always curious what people thought about this conversation. What was your biggest takeaway? What did you agree with? What did you not agree with, right? And I love hearing people's perspectives on these conversations. And if that sparks something, we can explore it from there.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Mario. It was a great conversation. Best of luck and success with your new endeavor.
Beautiful. Thank you, Roman. Enjoy the conversation.
Thank you. Okay.